It is indeed Market Monday. Each and every Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position in the best ball markets. I'll discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. The idea is to get you up to speed very quickly, what's actually happening out there in drafts, and how to adjust. As for playing best ball, I play most of my action on DraftKings. I personally think the format is the best out there for people like us who are really deep in the NFL and best ball streets. DK has the $20 large field tournament with $2 million to first, smaller field $555 buy-in with $1 million to first for my high stakes friends. If you have not played best ball on DraftKings yet, really should take advantage of their offer. Draft your first one, get one free ticket in the $20 buy-in Best Ball Millionaire. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. One per customer. Must enter the Best Ball $15 million headliner by 9/24/25 to get that one bonus entry. $20 entry fee required. Reward expires in 30 days. All right, going to start with the fallers here today. Going to get into three of them. Naji Harris down 8.3 spots over the last 7 days, now down at 116 overall on DraftKings. I got to tell you guys, I love July 4th. It's my second favorite holiday behind only Halloween. But I have not personally set off a firework since the Jason Pierre-Paul incident. You can call me soft, call me scared, neurotic, paranoid. You'd be right there. But I am also right that it's just not worth it. Apparently, Naji Harris and some friends were setting off fireworks. Something went wrong. One of Naji's friends ended up in critical condition. As for Naji himself, his agent is calling the injury a quote-unquote superficial eye injury and says Harris is fully expected to be ready for the upcoming NFL season. Note that the agent did not say Naji would be ready for camp. He didn't say exactly what the injury is. I mean, is Naji going to go full eye patch this season? I think what's most interesting about all this is the dynamic between Naji Harris and number 22 overall pick, Omarion Hampton. I thought Naji would play a lot early, plod his way around, but be a thorn in Hampton's usage thanks to reliability. Coaches like guys like Naji Harris. But now it's at least possible that the Chargers get a longer look at Hampton with the ones in camp. It's possible the Chargers coaches develop more trust around Omarion Hampton quicker. We already know Hampton's more explosive than Naji. It's very likely that Hampton is a better all-around player than Naji. So while I wasn't getting a ton of Hampton before, I have taken him a few times since the Naji news. We have Hampton one spot ahead of James Cook on DraftKings now, and I start a lot of DraftKings teams wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, or wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. In those kind of builds, Hampton in round 4, I think can make sense. As for Naji himself, the projectable volume thesis for boring best ball production, that thesis is certainly weaker now. But an 8.3 spot drop already and possibly going more, if Naji gets into the 120s, I'll be taking some shots on him ahead of Ramondre Stevenson, ahead of those Javonte Williams types, One-eyed Naji, I think it's going to be likely to be okay if he's going to be that cheap. Second faller to hit on is Quinshon Judkins, down 4.5 spots to 80th overall. More off-field news here. Browns rookie Judkins was arrested on a charge of domestic violence and battery in Florida on Saturday. Charge is a misdemeanor. Arrest report says the accuser told police Judkins punched her with a closed fist in the chin/lip area and later struck her in the arm and thigh. Doesn't sound great, of course. Wheels of justice will take some time to turn. Note that Judkins, like almost all of the round 2 picks in the draft, remains unsigned. So a lot of questions here. The one that matters most to us is, will Quinshon Judkins be suspended this season? We just saw Rashee Rice not get suspended for his incident last offseason. We also have the data point of Ezekiel Elliott getting suspended 6 games back in 2017 under the personal conduct policy. Perhaps the best comp is just from last season. Browns defensive tackle Mike Hall was suspended 5 games for violating the personal conduct policy after getting charged with domestic violence. However, that suspension came after Hall pleaded no contest to a reduced charge of disorderly conduct. So I'm honestly not sure how this will go. If Judkins drags the case out, will the NFL not act until a plea is in? Or under the personal conduct policy, they can conduct their own investigation and suspend anyways. So the bottom line is I had roughly 0 Quinshon Judkins so far anyways. I think Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are better pass game options. Judkins going to need TDs to post big weeks in fantasy. I'm just not expecting this Browns team, quarterbacked by Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco or a later round rookie. It's really hard to see them scoring a lot of TDs and being in scoring position. They're implied for the fewest points in the league this season, of course. So maybe I'll take some Quinshon Judkins shots if he sinks toward 100 overall. I would still take him ahead of Tyrone Tracy, still take him ahead of Travis Etienne, for example. But at 80 overall, easy pass for me on Judkins right now. I will say I'm certainly more interested in Dylan Sampson in light of this news. He's up to 183 overall in ADP. One of Mike Renner's favorites, if you listen to the prospect pods, was Dylan Sampson. He went off for 1,491 yards, 22 touchdowns last season at age 20 for Tennessee. We're up at 165 overall on Sampson now in the best ball ranks. Third faller, we're going to try something new here. It's going to be Jawan Jennings as the third faller. We don't actually have any ADP data yet on Jawan Jennings falling because this news broke right before I recorded here today on Monday. But Jawan Jennings' ADP is almost certainly going to fall after going public with a pay me or trade me request. So remember, Jawan Jennings signed a 2-year deal with the 49ers before last season. Goes out in 2024 and just careers it. I mean, he was legit very, very good. Clearly outplayed his contract, just like Jonnu Smith did, just like James Cook did, just like Terry McLaurin did. Report comes out Monday morning, just 9 days before training camp opens, that Jawan Jennings wants a new deal or he wants a trade. Report from Schefter says Jennings approached the team about his request, but little progress has been made. If a new deal is not reached by camp, Jennings plans to request a trade to a team willing to pay him. It's going to be tough for the 49ers to pay him. They dumped a massive bag on Brandon Ayuk. Ricky Pearsall is round 1 draft capital. But at the same time, it's also tough to see the Niners wanting to go into this season without Jawan Jennings. Brandon Ayuk's knee might not be ready until midseason. Status there remains unclear. Deebo Samuel is gone. Ricky Pearsall is exciting as the Deebo replacement, but unproven. Demarcus Robinson is facing DUI suspension. All this is a long way of saying Jennings, I think, does have some leverage here. Now, note that Schefter reported Jennings is not expected to be a training camp holdout, but he's not expected to be happy either. So my initial reaction is something will get done here. Some incentives added to the contract, some more guaranteed money, something to make Jennings happy enough to play out this season and then hit the free agent market next spring. So we did not dock him much on this news. We're sticking around that number 70 overall spot on DraftKings. This does, however, reinforce the things I talked about on last week's Market Monday when I hit on the 49ers receivers and the Brandon Ayuk dip in ADP. There is just a lot of fragility here in a really good offensive scheme for fantasy with a really shaky defense. You know, there's fragility in Christian McCaffrey's health. George Kittle will be 32 in October. Ayuk's knee situation. How many targets can Ricky Pearsall earn? I want to reach a bit on 49ers stuff ahead of rank if I have to, but I just want to do it thoughtfully. You know, if I want to make a bet against Brandon Ayuk's knee, I'll take Jennings. If I want to bet that Pearsall is the 1-for-1 Deebo Samuel replacement, I'll reach a bit on Pearsall. Obviously, George Kittle is a massive winner in all of this. I just think he's priced appropriately here on DraftKings at 39 overall. Let's get to this week's risers now. First one is rookie Jaden Blue, up 3.4 spots to 139 overall on DraftKings. Round 5 rookies at 139 overall in best ball, typically not my kind of play, especially before training camp, because you risk taking zeros all year and you're paying plenty of opportunity cost. We've seen this time and time again with day 3 picks that get a bunch of hype in June, July, August. That said, Jaden Blue is at least in play for me at this price of 139 overall for a few reasons. First, the quality of the running back draft class pushed guys back. hey, why use a round 3 pick on X running back? There's 30 draftable running backs here. One's going to fall to us in round 5. Second, Jaden Blue's profile is one that I like in fantasy. Big play guy, home run hitter, ran a 4.38. Also excels as a pass catcher, led the country in receiving touchdowns with 6 last season. And most importantly, Sean Payton thought Javonte Williams was totally cooked. Multiple teams have thought Miles Sanders is cooked. If Blue is actually good, there's plenty of opportunity here in Dallas, and I think this offense is going to score a lot of points. So yeah, I wish Blue was cheaper given the downside risk, but similar to Bashal Tutin, I'd ideally be roughly in line with market in terms of exposure to these later round rookie running backs. Second riser is Tucker Kraft, up 2.8 spots to 126 overall. Man, I'm actually surprised by this. The people love Tucker Kraft. He just continues to rise, now going ahead of Dalton Kincaid, Colson Loveland, Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, and other, I think, pretty good tight end plays. And I get it. Kraft is really good at football. Broke out a bit last season, played well ahead of Luke Musgrave, turned just 70 targets into 60 catches, 707 yards, 7 touchdowns. The problem at 126 overall on DraftKings is just volume projection. Yes, I think the Packers will be pass heavier this season. Don't think their intent was to finish 30th in pass attempts in 2024. The Jordan Love injury changed everything. But still, this is a run-centric offense, which gets the ball to 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, a lot of running back touches. It's just really hard for us to get Kraft in the same target range as a David Njoku or Tyler Warren or even a Jake Ferguson. So yeah, I'm a bit scared here as I have very little Kraft so far and won't be chasing him up the board. Price is just high for me. Third and final riser is Marvin Mims, up 2.6 spots to 125 overall. I'm not really sure why Marvin Mims is rising. He's always a tough click for me in drafts because I simply don't trust Sean Payton. Mims has been excellent almost any time he's gotten chances at the NFL level. Payton always talks about needing/wanting to get Marvin Mims more routes. Then he just doesn't do it. It's like that hot dog meme. Payton complains Mims isn't running enough routes when he's the one that's in charge of the routes. But anyways, for Mims to hit at 125 overall, I think he needs to clearly be the number 2 receiver on this team and run almost as many routes as Courtland Sutton, or at least be in the same range as Courtland Sutton. I think Sean Payton should do that, but will he? They have Devon Vele, Troy Franklin. They drafted Pat Bryant. With RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, I expect the Broncos to run the ball with more volume and more efficiency. So if I need wide receiver in that range, in that 120s range, and ideally on DraftKings, I get to the 120s, I'm already pretty loaded at wide receiver. But if I do need wide receiver in that range, give me Rashid Shaheed over Mims. I take Christian Kirk over Mims. He's just a tough sell, particularly in full PPR, is Mims. All right. Thanks to everyone for listening. We are starting to ramp up the shows on the YouTube and on the podcast feed now. So if you have not subscribed yet to the podcast, be sure you are by searching for it anywhere podcasts are found and hitting subscribe on the YouTube channel. Also, be sure you're following me on Twitter at Adam Levitan for a ton more player takes. We'll be back later this week with Silva and Daigle to discuss all the coaching changes ahead of the 2025 season and what that means for fantasy outlooks. For producer Ryan, for the data side team helping me track these ADP moves, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.